Hello guys, back again. And normally I talk about video games or tech on this channel, but today we're going to talk about Wrestlemania 30. Now I've been a long-time wrestling fan. I've told the story before in a video here or there about how I originally watched the first Wrestlemania on closed circuit TV and how it blew me away. And I've been basically a wrestling fan on and off since then. And with the recent WWE Network launching, I've kept track of the product, but I haven't watched it like every week or anything like that. I got the WWE Network because I wanted to see the old pay-per-views, and Legends of Wrestling has been awesome. Anyway, I got the WWE Network, and $10 a month to get the pay-per-views, and WrestleMania 30 is coming up, so that'd be cool. And so WrestleMania 30 happened tonight, and I always wonder how it was going to turn out, right? Because when they originally built up to the card going to WrestleMania, like, okay, it was like, okay, there's a couple things I'm interested enough, and there's a lot of stuff I don't care about. But it's WrestleMania, And they start off pretty good with Hulk Hogan, and then, surprise Stone Cold. Even though they reported the day before Stone Cold is going to appear, Stone Cold shows up, and then The Rock. Them three in the ring, something you probably never thought you'd see. All three of those guys in the ring together now, talking, and that was cool. And the matches were pretty cool, going up to that, Overall, I mean, Usos won the tag team titles, or kept them, wasn't a surprise. Quite honestly, most of the matches are kind of like, oh, they're cool. They're what I thought they'd be. The Shield destroying Kane and New Age Outlaws. That was I was surprised how quickly they destroyed him and how short that match was. But no one's surprised. The surprises tonight for me were simple. On the Andre Memorial Battle Royal, the fact that it seemed interesting how it was going along, because they talked about Big Show, he's going to win it. It only makes sense the Big Show wins. It's Andre Memorial. It's like, are they really going to let him win it? And it was interesting because you had Dolph Ziggler and these other guys in the end, getting, as they're whittling down. The crowd response to Dolph Ziggler when he got eliminated was they're really behind him. Now he said some things, as they're calling pipe bombs about WWE and stuff, that brought attention to him, and fans are kind of liking him and attaching to him. But ultimately, it came down, you're like, okay, they started whittling down, the Big Show was still, you go, they're going to let the Big Show win. And then at the end, it was Cesaro versus the Big Show. And Cesaro, I like Cesaro. I actually liked him before he was in WWE. He's really coming to his own. And one of the things when people talk about wrestling today, I think one of the things that a lot of sites and don't get right about anything is wrestling fans today want new blood in the wrestling show. Now, when you go back to the Attitude Era, whatever era you loved, what made it exciting was you constantly had the guys you knew, and you constantly had new blood coming in, new people, new things to keep it interesting. Like anything, if it's the same old thing over and over again, it becomes stagnant. And that's what happened to the WWE. Whether that or not, we've had the same guys mostly for 20 years now. 10, 20 years has been, whatever period you are, 10, 20 years. A lot of these guys have been here. How many times can you have the same guy face the same guy over again before it kind of gets boring and stagnant? There's only so many ways you can twist a story before you're like, I've seen that story before. Let's move on. And, they're doing that, like, they're going to let Big Show win. But surprisingly, they let Cesaro win, and Cesaro picked the Big Show up and threw him over the top rope. Like, picked him up halfway in the middle of the ring and walked him over and threw him over the top rope. And it was good to see them give him a push by winning that. Again, I thought tonight's WrestleMania's theme should have been the new guys rising, that the new blood is taking over, the old blood's the past. The old guys are good, but this is where the new guys shine. That was my one thing about the Bray Wyatt versus John Cena match, was that John Cena, Superman, as I call him, wins, when it really should have been putting over Bray Wyatt. John Cena had made this big speech, the new guys got to come through him, the build-up before WrestleMania, and then they added the legacy thing to it, and I knew, okay, great, John Cena's going to win because they're doing his legacy. But to me, to push Bray Wyatt over all the way, it should have been John Cena should have lost to Bray Wyatt. That tells me he doesn't want a job for anybody, because if he did, Bray Wyatt would have won and would have completely pushed Bray Wyatt over. Because Bray Wyatt's one of those guys that really like. Bray Wyatt actually was pretty solid in his match. But he can't make Cena look incredibly good. It's just Cena only does so much, and so he had a solid match. You just can't make Cena look. Well, Cena can only do so much. Okay, Cena won just like I thought he was going to win, unfortunately, but no big deal. Kind of knew that. Bray Wyatt's still going in his Bray Wyatt's group's still going to go on. It's just like, okay, that group's still going to go on. He's still going to have a bright future. Maybe he'll get his payoff down the road. And I was wondering this whole time, why haven't they done the Divas, like Divas Battle Royal? Why haven't they done the Vicky Invitational, Diva Invitational? Which to me, I'm going to say this right off the bat, it should not have been called Vicky Guerrero Invitational. It should have been called like Mae Young Invitational or Moolah or a famous female veteran who paid her dues in the ring. That's who that should have been. Especially Mae Young dying not that long ago. That would have made sense to me. Kind of like the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, not Vicky Guerrero. What has Vicky Guerrero done to have her name put on that? She's been a manager. Yes, she's married to Eddie Guerrero. That does not mean she deserves her name on there. I mean, there's so many other people deserving women wrestlers who wrestled and meant a lot to this business more than Vicky Guerrero. That, to me, was just a big mistake. But I kind of went into that Diva. I was like, why haven't they done this match? Because Diva traditionally is like, we don't care. You know, it's a Diva. It's like the bottom of the card, filler, no one cares. I was like, okay. Well, then the Brock Lesnar Undertaker match came up. I still wonder, why didn't they do the Diva match? It's not, why would this be before the actual championship match? And the Brock Undertaker match wasn't incredibly good. It was really slow. Again, just like the last couple of years, you've seen the Undertaker's age going into this match. And he hit 2 F5s in the Undertaker. And I was like, wow. But when he hit that third one, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. He's going to win. And when he pinned him, 1, 2, 3, and 1, for a minute there, my emotions and everything, like, I was just like, you know, shock. And my emotions are like, you just kind of get this temporary low, like, I can't believe he lost, and you're kind of like in a little bit of a downer. And then the next part was, I wonder what the crowd reaction is going to be. You see the crowd, and they're completely, like, in shock. Like, how could this happen? Because, listen, The Undertaker won 21 WrestleManias in a row. You almost assumed he was going to win 22. Rumors are going on aside, saying that he wasn't supposed to lose. Ultimately, what it comes down to, The Undertaker ultimately makes the decision whether he's going to win or lose to a guy. And I know people are going to blame the WWE, and that's fine. The reason the WWE to me deserves blame, that if this was not like in the match he couldn't go any further, and he did the whole sign and say, hey, you're going to pin me for 3 kind of thing. Because you look at Paul Heyman's face, he looks legitimately surprised that Brock Lesnar won. And it makes you wonder, was he supposed to win? Was the Undertaker totally gassed not to do anything? But in the end, Brock Lesnar won. In the end, it was a clear 1, 2, 3. There's no way to backtrack out of that for next year WrestleMania. There's just no way. Immediately after that match ended, the backlash began. Internet just raged, right? And the meaning of the rage wasn't for me. It wasn't the fact. I understand what people mean, because to me, it wasn't the fact the Undertaker lost. Because to me, ultimately, if the Undertaker, now that this is all over, to me, the second match against Shawn Michaels to me would have been the match the Undertaker's actually should have lost the streak. They had one great match. The second match would have been a redemption kind of thing. Maybe they both could retire together, whatever. But to me, it would have made sense that he lost the second, Shawn Michaels. Maybe Triple H wouldn't have been so bad. Though if Triple H would have beat him, I mean, the backlash would have been there, but, you know, he would have been used to it because he's been bashed because, you know, he's married into the family for years. And so, Brock Lesnar wins. And then they do the Divas Championship, and I was like, that's why they did it. Because they didn't want to go straight from this match straight to the championship match, because the crowd would have not have been into the championship match at all. It would have been dead silent. You could have dropped a pin in that arena after the Undertaker lost. I mean, watching last year's match, Undertaker hurt pretty bad, to be honest with you, and then this year's, and I like the Undertaker's character. It's just, at some point, to me personally, I would have rather liked him to have won and just retired. And I don't understand, again, if this was from the beginning WWE's plan, that Brock Lesnar was going to beat The Undertaker, the build-up should have been The Undertaker's last match. Is the streak going to stay or is he going to lose? Because I think if they would have done that, the crowd, I think the shock overall would have been so bad because, okay, this is his last match. But I've watched the online responses. The response should have been to someone meaningful. not Brock Lesnar, because a lot of people consider him a part-time wrestler. And yes, he put his dues in early in WWE when he was younger, and he's made a name for himself out in UFC. And I get he gets to pick and choose because he's marketable and he's a known name when he wrestles. To me, honestly, it would have been memorable to lose someone like Roman Reigns, Cesaro, some guy on the up and up in the company, not Brock Lesnar. Because let's look in WWE perspective. What have you actually gained out of Brock Lesnar beating The Undertaker? Where do you go with Brock Lesnar from here? I mean, that's the question now. Okay, he beat The Undertaker. What do you do with him now? Next year he has to be in WrestleMania now because he beat the streak. He's got the streak of 1-0 or whatever, right? He has to be in WrestleMania next year now. But outside of that, what do you do to him? What is the payoff for beating The Undertaker? Storyline wise, where's the payoff? And there is no payoff for here. This is what made no sense about Brock Lesnar beating The Undertaker. There is no payoff for him beating The Undertaker. Yes, he becomes the #1 heel, but he kind of already was the most hated guy in WWE, but he kind of already was working his way that way anyway, right? I mean, this doesn't really push him over any more than he already was. There was no gain for him beating The Undertaker. And ultimately, it was The Undertaker's decision to lose to Brock Lesnar. He had all the decision. I mean, despite all the hatred towards WWE, Undertaker had the choice. And clearly, he must have been okay with it. Or something happened in the match, maybe the day before he went in the ring, where he went, I'm going to lose. Maybe it was a case in the ring where he was, because one of my friends had stated, like the second F5, it looked like The Undertaker had gotten hurt. Maybe it was a case of Undertaker just was like, pin me 1, 2, 3, and it ended. We'll never know the truth, but the truth is Undertaker's streak is over. It's the end of an era. It's ended one of the longest streaks in professional wrestling. And one of the things I've said, I think nothing should be bigger than the championship at the WrestleMania, but this was bigger than the championship. And this was deservedly bigger than the championship because it was a streak that's never going to be broken. It became a spectacle. It became the main event of WrestleMania. It became the thing every year you waited for The Undertaker to come back to see who was he going to wrestle this year. And that is gone. And the other reason some people are mad is because remember when Sting did sign with WWE and everybody was hoping to see him versus The Undertaker in his last match, or, Undertaker's last match for the streak. That's now gone. The streak's over. If this was a mistake and the referee screwed up or something, WWE cannot backpedal now. It happened. There's no way to backpedal and change it where the streak is still there. So, I don't know what they're going to do if it was a mistake. But, let's get into the last part. The Divas match happened. AJ Lee won. Okay, AJ won. Whatever. I mean, kind of not surprising. The only thought I thought was maybe they were going to let Naomi get the belt. But if one of the Funkadactyls was going to get the belt, then AJ was going to keep it. She did win it, so there you go. Done. The main event. Daniel Bryan had beaten Triple H earlier in the night. And they did this whole thing where Triple H, after the match, put Daniel Bryan's arm against the steel post, hit it with the chair, kind of building up that, again, that's when I knew Daniel Bryan was going to win, because he's super injured. There's no way he is going to compete at the triple threat match. Get to the triple threat match. And Dave Bautista, or Boo Batista, everyone want to call him, Bautista, was his usual slow and showing his age self in the match. He really honestly hasn't had a good match since he's come back. He's looked really slow, and his age is, you can't beat age. And in his case, age has slowed him down. He's been winded a lot in a lot of the matches, and he still showed that. Randy Orton's Randy Orton. He's pretty consistent, pretty solid. And every time you see a Spanish announcer's desk at a pay-per-view, you know one thing. Someone's going through it. But in this case, there's a Spanish announcer's desk and a French announcer's desk. And what they did was they took both Batista and Randy Orton, they stripped all 3 tables, and then Batista lifted Daniel Bryan at the first table, was going to powerbomb through the second one, but when he was going to go powerbomb him, Randy Orton, you might call it a 3D from the Dudley Boys, because Batista lifted up, powerbomb, and as he powerbombed, Randy Orton did an RKO through the table. Him and Daniel Bryan went through the table. The thing was, there was a monitor on the floor, and Randy Orton landed. When he hit the table, he kind of just landed right on the monitor. And you clearly see he landed on it, and he was clearly in pain, and he cut his back up, and he was laying there in pain because obviously, you can't be ready for landing on a metal monitor. It doesn't move. My friend said the monitor looked like it got dented. I didn't see if it got dented, but it was just he landed on the thing full force, and it had to hurt on his back. And so he laid there for a while, and Daniel Bryan, of course, laid there. And, of course, the ironically joke we made was they brought the stretch out for Daniel Bryant, but they should have brought out for Randy Orton. And Daniel Bryan kind of did the thing. They're going to take him out, but he got unstrapped and got out himself to continue the match, which I was kind of glad because I didn't want to take him like all the way out and then him running later. That kind of would have cheapened his victory to me. But anyway, so Randy Orton and Batista kind of did a little like fighting that a lot, like a little slow throw guy here, throw a guy there kind of thing. And eventually Randy Orton landed outside the ring and stayed there. And it basically became Daniel Bryant and Batista. And ultimately it was Daniel Bryant pinned Batista in the middle of the ring with a submission move to win the championship. And again, this was the payoff they had to do at WrestleMania, in my opinion. With the month since basically SummerSlam, building up to Daniel Bryan getting screwed, the payoff in the story had to be Daniel Bryan winning the title at WrestleMania. If he did not win the title at WrestleMania, because I knew the scare was the month after WrestleMania, I believe, the pay-per-view is Daniel Bryan's home, where Daniel Bryan's from. And I got that they've done it in the past with The Rock, where he didn't win at WrestleMania like people thought he would. They actually let him win a month later where he was from, or a month later after WrestleMania, that the theory was that they hope he didn't do this. And after The Undertaker lost the streak, a lot of people kind of went into that match thinking, oh no, are they going to actually let Daniel Bryant lose? The crowd could have cried at WrestleMania if that would happen. I mean, The Undertaker was enough to bear. If Daniel Bryan lost, it probably would have gone nuts. But ultimately, Daniel Bryant won. It's cool they gave him the title. He's now the man. That's the way it should have been. I've never seen it. It's been a long time since I've seen the fans so into one guy. And we'll see what happens. Now, if they're smart, they're going to continually do the authority, continually messes with Daniel Bryan. They do everything in their power to mess with him. They do everything in their power to try to take the title away from him. That's what they need to do in order to keep it going. Because now, you don't just have okay, you won and then drop the storyline. You can't. You got to keep it going. Okay? The fans are into him. The fans are invested. And one of the reasons the fans have got more invested with him, want to believe it or not, is because he continually got screwed over. It's because, in a sense, he's 5'8". He looks like a regular guy. He doesn't look like a big buff wrestler. And he keeps continually, and every time I think him continually getting screwed over, built up this massive following behind him, massive like rooting for him. And you got to keep going where he has to overcome adversity. Like any good wrestling story, I mean, you continually have hurdles to overcome. The next hurdle bigger than the last one, and it continually perpetuate what's going on. Now, I don't know if they're going to go Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan next pay-per-view because Daniel Bryan didn't pin Randy Orton, and Randy Orton could say, I didn't get pinned, I lost. Or because he pinned Batista, do Batista versus Daniel Bryan, which I don't know if anybody wants to see Batista wrestle anybody. They just didn't like when he came back to begin with, but anyway. So if you watched WrestleMania, what do you think about it? Were you like totally upset and disappointed that Undertaker lost? Again, for me, part of me was upset he lost. On the other hand, I understood. At some point, everything ends. I would have liked him to retire and not. The streak would have stayed intact. I think to me that would have been the right thing to do. But maybe, again, the Undertaker ultimately had to decide to lose and to end the streak. I'm pretty sure, and to be honest with you, somewhere in WWE probably tried to convince The Undertaker not to end the streak because I'm pretty sure they wanted to keep it. That is the most marketable thing they have. Because even if he was retiring, if they kept the streak alive, they could have just kind of continually talked about what if The Undertaker would show up and build hype, speculation, even though he never showed up to wrestle next year. What do you think about Daniel Bryan finally getting to pay off and win the championship after SummerSlam? Were you excited? Were you not excited about it? I was glad he won. I liked Daniel Bryan when he first got in NXT and how, he's an indie wrestler. I just always liked him. And so I was always rooting for him to do well. I just never thought he would be, be the guy with the title running the show. Being the main focus of the actual company. As I'm yawning here, and shouldn't be doing that in a video. What do you think about the WrestleMania overall? Did you like it? Did you hate it? I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on it. Anyway, guys, like always, thanks for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I really do appreciate it. I will talk to you guys later.